We've got the same number of people and patients, right? So why is there such a shortage of doctors? Are they disappearing? People can't get appointments. It seems to have happened so suddenly. What exactly is going on?
So I don't think it has happened suddenly, actually, Nana. You know, I've been very critical of GPs for not seeing patients face to face and for not opening up appointments in COVID. But on this occasion, I think this is successive government's fault. If you think that for the last 30 years, we have halved the number of hospital beds, and yet the population in the UK has grown by 20%. So what that does is it actually switches so much work that would have been done in hospital onto GPs. All that's happened in the last couple of years is that that's been exacerbated by COVID, because whilst people think GPs weren't working, they were. Some of them were seeing patients face to face, like me, but some weren't. But what was happening was hospitals didn't see patients face to face. So in all of those specialities where they see patients all of the time and they manage them by doing scans and bloods, they were seeing them by Zoom or by telephone, and then they were sending an email or a letter through to the GP saying, we've had contact with this patient today, would you now please do their bloods? Would you change their medications? Once you get the bloods, would you do the scan? So suddenly there was a massive transfer of work during COVID from hospitals to GPs. So that just made an already bad situation in terms of work even worse. And GPs have been snowed under by this kind of work. I can promise you, I see it every day when I'm in practice. And there's a combination of then other things coming in from the sides, because it's complex, where the government have failed to publish any serious workforce planning. And by that, I mean looking at 10 and 20 years ahead, how much the population will grow, how many doctors you need for that, how many doctors are going to retire, how many of those doctors will be women who want to work part-time because they have families. That's all part of good workforce planning, and it's never been done. The cap on doctors has remained in place because it's expensive to train a doctor. It's been lifted slightly in COVID just because so many students got their A-level grades because of the way that they were marked, but they had to lift it so that they all got their university places with their grades. But there's no indication that that will last. And as you rightly say, GP training places have been opened up. And whilst if you count GPs that are in training, so not qualified to see people on their own, there's been about an increase over the last few years of 700 GPs. But in actuality, if you take out those training doctors, there's been a decrease of over 2,000. And that's because of the workload pressures, retiring doctors, a pension cap, and people might say that's greedy, but when your pension has reached its cap, mine hasn't, but when it has, and you suddenly find that you work and actually pay more in tax than you earn for the session, you're not going to do it, Nana. You're not. So they could lift that. And when you have these workforce pressures on top of all that, so many GPs are just saying, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm just burnt out. I need to leave.